What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and I am so excited to continue this video series around the top 10 Pokemon auctions from eBay because I know I find tons of value in it, and from all of the comments and all of the reactions and all of the inputs from the last video that we did, I know you all find value in it too. And I just want to thank you because the whole purpose of this video, the whole reason behind it, is directly because of the input that you guys gave me. You know that I read all the comments and I respond to them personally. And when we did that first video, there was a bunch of different items and products that were thrown in there. There was Japanese, there was English, there was sealed. And a lot of people had said, hey, listen, we love this type of content, but why don't you break it up? Do one on Japanese, do one on English, do one on sealed. And I think that's what we're gonna do moving forward. And we're gonna start that new kind of breaking everything out with this video right here on Japanese cards. And I'm gonna tell you this. I love Japanese promos. I am a huge fan of these Japanese promo cards. I love the stories behind them. I love their rarity. I love the uniqueness about all of them. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, if you want to talk just about regular Japanese cards, I'm not really into that. That's not my bag. But these promos, these things that you can only find in the Japanese variants are absolutely incredible. And the stories behind them just are absolutely mind-blowing. So we're going to start with that today. And listen, if you get into the video, if you enjoy the content and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, go ahead and do that. We're building an amazing community. We would love for you to be a member of it. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. And as I said earlier, if you have questions or comments or things that you would prefer to see on this video, let me know in the comments down below. I promise I'll respond to them and I'll read them and I'll take them to heart. So with that out of the way, let's start looking at these awesome Japanese cards that have sold over the last week. And guess what? The very first card we're going to talk about has an amazing story behind it. So here we go. This card right here, I had absolutely positively never heard of until I was looking at these auctions, right? I saw this CGC 8 Japanese card that sold for $3,750. And in my mind, I was like, what the heck is going on? Record scratch. That doesn't make a ton of sense. And then I started doing a deep dive into it and it all came together. So this is a History Gate card. Now, this card came from the 25th anniversary special set. And the thing that's really cool about this, right? This whole set is based on the corporate history of Pokemon. Again, it came out on the 25th anniversary, but you couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy it. Matter of fact, nobody could buy it. It was a 30 card deck that was given out to TCG artists and other Pokemon adjacent employees at the Pokemon Company in Japan. And they did this in December of 2021. There is no record as to how many of these actually were printed. There's no record as to how many of them were distributed, but I do know that that number is incredibly small because whenever these come up for sale, they go for such a huge amount of money. And as you can tell, this card, again, it's a CGC 8 and it still went for almost $4,000. And one of the things that I thought was really cool is I found this piece of trivia. So the card number on this one right here is a reference to Creature's founding date of November 8th in 1995. I love those little Easter eggs. And then you can see that I have a picture of the front and the back of the card, and the back of the card's got all kinds of writing on there. But when I was actually able to get it translated and I was actually able to read what is on the front and the back of this card, I thought I had to include it because it is really cool. So this is what's on the front. First off, think about the actions of this card. So the maximum HP of and damage done by attacks of each card released between 1996 and 2000, both for you and for your opponent, is doubled. How sick is that? What a cool ability this card has right there. And then I'm not going to read everything that's on the back, but I thought this was really cool to read the quote from above. And this is to the employees who are manufacturing the game. And this is from one of the founders, obviously. It says, what I want everyone to ask themselves is what kind of value they are offering to the company. Is the value you create useful to others? I want them to be aware of these things. I think this can be said for any job. And as somebody who has the awesome responsibility, the awesome time, the awesome, I just think it's really cool that I get to lead teams. I find this very useful when I think about jobs and I think about people. We all want stuff. Obviously, I want stuff. Everybody watching this video wants stuff. And sometimes it comes down to, hey, what are you doing to earn what you want? Like, what kind of value are you providing to the company? Now, the company should provide you as much, if not more value. That's on the onus of the company to make sure you have a fantastic place to work, make sure you're in a safe space, and make sure that they give you all the tools to be successful. But sometimes I talk to people, they're like, I want to make more money. And sometimes I blatantly ask them, like, hey, what are you doing to earn more money? They're like, hey, I want better shifts. I'm like, that's super cool. What are you doing with the shifts that you have? Are you at the top of the pecking order, or do you come in somewhere in the middle? So I thought that this quote on the back of the card was really cool, and I just had to share it with everybody. Now that we're done with that nonsense, let's get into some other things. Now, I will tell you this, when you look at the biggest auctions, right, especially in the Japanese space, you see a lot of these types of cards, right? All of the Pikachus wearing ponchos, and you see the Luigi and the Mario variant right here. And I will tell you this, we're not going to highlight them every week because I just think that the variety of these Japanese cards is so great that even if these are the most expensive ones week in and week out, I will warehouse the data, we'll start to talk about trends, but I don't want to talk about the same cards every week. So this is week number 1 on the Japanese one, so we'll talk about it right here. And these two sold for a ton of money, right? That Lugia Pikachu right there, guess what? That sold for $3,400. That was a best offer accepted price. Now, when you think about it, the overall population isn't really that big. There's 1,623 of these in PSA 10 holders. This is from a 2016 box. So again, not a lot of these are going to be ripped and included in the population moving forward. I will say this though, there was 2,102 of them total that were sent to PSA for a gem rate of 77%. That is an incredibly high gem rate. It is what we come to expect from Japanese cards. They just have a really high print quality. So again, 1,600 of them in PSA 10s. This one sold at a best offer for $3,400. Absolutely love it. However, Luigi is outdone by Mario on this slide. The Mario one was an actual auction and it sold for $5,703 and there were 39 bids. Now, this one, the PSA 10 population is smaller, but not by a lot, just a little bit. There's 1,586 of these in a PSA 10 holder. There was 2,269 of them sent to PSA. So still a north of 70 gem rate, a little bit south of where it was before. The Luigi's at 77, the Mario's at 70. So I mean, we're kind of splitting hairs here, but overall I was really impressed with how the Mario, which was actually at auction, again, not a buy it now, it was an auction, got all the way up to $5,700. Now, what I had to do was, guess what? Some of the other big auctions were the actual boxes that they came from, and I told you, we're not going to dive too deep into sealed products here, but I thought it was really interesting because the box that the Mario came out of, the red one down there, guess what? That one sold at a best offer for $4,500, and the Luigi one up at top sold for $3,500. What was interesting to me was the divergence in price between the PSA 10 promo cards that came out of each of these and the sealed products. So the Luigi was almost 1 for 1, right? The Luigi PSA 10 sold for $3,400 and the sealed box sold for $3,500, right? Pretty close. That makes sense. High gem rate. People could buy this, and if they wanted to, if they had the stones, they could rip it open and have a good chance of sending in that Luigi and getting a PSA 10. But the gap between the Mario one was much, much bigger, right? So that box sold for $4,500, and guess what? That Mario sold for almost $5,700. So I mean, we're talking about a $1,300 gap between the price of the sealed product and the price of the card in a PSA 10 holder. Now the PSA gem rate was a little bit lower, right? There was only a 70% gem rate for the Mario versus the 77 for the Luigi, and I honestly don't think a lot of people are out there ripping $4,000, $5,000 boxes, but it was really interesting to me to take away kind of the gap between the PSA 10 price for the promo cards and the actual sealed boxes themselves. Now, next ones we're going to talk about here are another couple of absolute epic cards. So we'll first start off with the 20th anniversary Fiesta card right there. I love everything about it. I love my Pikachu and Friends cards, and the friends on this card are absolutely insane. You got Squirtle, you got Charmander, you got all of the big uns on there, and I love it. Now, this card in a PSA 10 Gem Mint holder sold for $10,000 at a buy it now, which is absolutely insane. What's equally insane is there is 1,003 of these in PSA 10 holders, but guess what? There has been 1,168 of them actually sent to PSA, so that is a almost near perfect gem rate, right? 1,000 in PSA 10 holders, 1,168 sent to PSA in total. That is an 86% gem rate. The print quality on this is through the roof, and even though the population is really, really low, hey, I mean, it goes to bode well, right? Like, they easily pop into PSA 10 holders, but again, only 1,000 of these are in existence. The buy it now for $10,000 is an incredible price for this, and it got me really excited. Now, I wanted to do the next card after that one because I could talk about it for days. These are the reasons why I love these Japanese promo cards so incredibly much. So this is a card, this Magikarp Shining card, which is from the fan club back in the day, back in the year 2000. So you could be a part of a fan club and you could earn points for doing various things and completing various tasks, etc., etc. And when you hit the 600 point threshold, guess what? They sent you this awesome Magikarp card. How cool is that? Now, that is the picture of the actual card that sold, and guess what? You notice it's not in a PSA holder, right? That is a raw card, and it sold for $3,500. There were 41 different bids on it. They didn't care that it wasn't graded. This card in high grade, I'm talking about in the 9s and the 10s. In a 10, this is one of the most expensive Pokemon cards out there. Like a year and a half ago, I did a video on the most expensive Pokemon cards, and this was one of them. It is absolutely insane. Now, there has only been 229 sent for grading. Only 229 have been sent to PSA in total, so you can imagine how small the actual population for these cards must be, and that is why this raw card sold for so much. So of course, you know I've got to do what I always do, and I went ahead and I looked at some PSA data. So there's only 19 of these that exist in a PSA 10 holder. There's only 91 that exist in a PSA 9 holder, and the last PSA 8 sold for $4,377, and actually that sold last month, so a really recent comp sale here of a PSA 8 at $4,377. But again, this is why I love these Japanese promo cards. This is what I think is absolutely incredible. Cards like this, with stories like this, with crazy low populations, I can't even imagine how cool it is to see these cards in real life. I haven't seen one, but I have a feeling that if I go to enough shows, I'll be able to get an eye on one. Just really, really cool cards. So the next set that we're going to look at right here might surprise you a little bit. I told you these Poncho Pikachus, these things are selling like hotcakes, right? So that one right over there did go to auction, right? That's the one where he's wearing his Zard Pikachu. Absolutely love it. And it sold at $3,051.41 bids. But what I really wanted to do was double click into the Flareon card right there, because if you're not familiar with it, you're going, hey Ryan, like what's the big deal with that card? We can get them all the time. They're in the Flareon, the Vaporeon, the Jolteon boxes. Like I know the boxes are expensive, but how come this Japanese version is going for so much money? Well, the interesting thing is it was only available in those premium collection boxes in the US and in Europe, okay? So outside of that, over in the Asian countries, guess what? These cards were only available via special campaigns and tournaments. So again, just like that Magikarp card that we talked about, super rare. Not a lot of these are in existence, and that's why this card in a PSA 10 holder sold for $3,050, right? There was 32 bids on this card. It is just absolutely amazing to me how awesome these cards are, and when you think about how high these auctions are and how many bids are going after them, like the market is absolutely frothy. I shared with you all when I went to Collecticon, like I felt like, and I heard from people that, hey, there aren't a lot of Japanese cards that we're selling. Well, those are the run-of-the-mill Japanese cards. These promo cards, these special ones that you can only find over on the Japanese side of things, I think they have a healthy market. I think they're selling like crazy, and they're selling for a premium like you wouldn't believe. So now the final product right here that I wanted to highlight is something special, simply because I thought this was really, really cool. And this sold for a $5,000 buy it now price, but these are all 4 of the original Japanese sets, the booster packs in PSA 10s. You don't see packs that are graded by PSA a lot, but this is so cool. This is the 1996 base set in Japanese graded PSA 10. This is the 1997 Fossil, the 1997 Jungle, the 1997 Team Rocket booster packs, all of them in a perfect PSA Gem Mint 10 holder. I think this is a really, really cool piece for any collection. I love the fact that this is the true origin of Pokemon, right? Here over in the US, we didn't get things until 1999. So if you think about it, this is many years in advance. This is the true origin. This is the beginning story of Pokemon. So I think that $5,000 for these 4 packs is a really cool thing to add to your personal collection. So anyways, I had a ton of fun digging into these Japanese cards. I can't wait to keep this video series going. As I said, and I always do with new series here, if you have questions or comments, or if there's something you'd like to see a little bit more of, drop it in the comments down below. I promise I'll respond. If you got to the end and you enjoyed the content, hit a thumbs up. And if you want to be a part of our crew and you want to see stuff like this more often, we do things like this all the time. So hit that subscribe button. And listen, I thank you for watching. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one. I'll talk to you all soon. See you later, everybody. Bye.